In this video, we are going to finish off my planned videos for the chapter 1 of Automate the Boring Stuff with Python. You definitely have to read the book as well. So for the last video, I want to see what can we do with what is actually in chapter 1. So in chapter 1, we have arithmetic. We're introduced to numbers and strings, and we have these functions here that we can use: print, input, len, str, int, and float. Let's just take a look at those functions again. So the way print works is it is a function. When you have a function, you have the name of the function, and then left and right parenthesis, and inside of there you can put things. And print expects potentially things that are separated by spaces, and they can be strings or numbers either way, and print will print them. Len, if you give it a string, it tells you how many characters. str takes a number and converts it to text, because the number 1 is different than the text with the character 1. Int goes the other way and can also convert a floating point number, a number with something after the decimal point. And float you can use to convert strings as well. Input is one I don't think we've looked at yet. So what input does is it waits for the user to type. And then if you save the result of input, so input is a function, we have our left and right parenthesis. When I press enter to run it, it waits for me to type. I type hello. Now X has that value that I typed. You can put a message here as a string, and then that'll print and wait for me to type. Okay, so those are what we have available to us. And these are some things that we can actually do. So we'll start with hello. We have some errors there from the previous video. Traditionally, the first program that you write is hello world. There it is. So making that a bit more exciting, and I will copy hello.py to be hello name.py. This is something that you often want to do, is start with, you have a program that does something, you're going to make something new, pick a program that does some part of what you want to do. Alright, so I already have something that uses print. Now I want to make this ask for the user's name and say hello to them. This is also a good thing to do, to put a comment when you start a file. What are you planning to do? And then you might break that into different parts. Alright, ask for the user's name. We use the input function. Okay, so if we run this, tell me what you think is going to happen. What is your name? And if I press enter, then what is it going to do? It says hello world because that's exactly what I have there. If I wanted to do something else, I could say cool, hi, and then name. And so this, just a question for you, what is the data type of this? That is a string. So two things, two quotes, a single quote and a single quote, and everything in between is called a string text. All right, and then we've got a comma, and what type of thing is name? Name is a variable, and it is a string variable. Let's try to run this. And the way print works is I give it a string, and then I give it another string, and I put a comma, and it actually puts a space there in between. All right, we will leave it like that. Okay, so let's go for another thing we can do. Average some numbers. So let's say that I want to ask the user for 3 numbers, print the average. Okay, and you can pause and think about what's the way to do this. Okay, so to get started, I'm going to ask for a number. And I'll call it num1 equals input number. And it's a good idea to run a program often. I'm calling this average number, so that's fine. All right, and now ask for another number. Okay, let's make sure that all works. So here I'm asking for 3 numbers. Okay, that worked. All right, now I'm going to put in the formula for average. num1 plus num2 plus num3 over 3. And then I'll print that. Okay, so what do you think is going to happen? One, two, three. Get an error. What line is the error on? So it's in this file, it's on line 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, this line right here, and it printed the line. Unsupported operand type /. So it says there's a problem with the slash and operand. So this is an operator. The operands are the things that it is being asked to divide. So 3, and what is on the other side is this. What is it saying that the 3 is? It's saying that the 3 is an int, and it's saying that this right here is a string. And why is that? Okay, so the reason is the way the input function works is it gives you a string. I could print things here. I'll just print num1. So if you didn't know that's how input worked, then you would start potentially printing things just to see what it looks like. So it did print 1. It's the string 1, the text, not the number. So the way to fix this is we're just going to assume that they typed a number, and I'm going to make this float. Okay, so inside the parenthesis happens first, just like in math. All the way inside the parenthesis is this string, so there's a string. The next thing out is this input, so I'm going to run the input function. And then whatever that returns, whatever that result is, I'm going to convert it to float. If we wanted to split that into more than one line, we could. We would say text equals input, num1 equals float text. But it just takes more lines to do that. So I'll do it like this. And let's see. We got the correct average, that's good. Okay, so it's worth noting a couple things we're doing, good programming practices that I'll put somewhere, but we'll put them right here for now. So we'll start a file with comments of what we plan to do. Get started on the first thing needed. Test the program often, so that means run it, make sure it does what we expect. Okay, so those are all things that we're doing. Another thing that we have done is starting point. Copy a file that does something similar already. Okay, so then you remember how to do that stuff. While we're here, so we've got 2 programs in, and we're gonna keep going. All right, so we'll do unit conversion and math practice, and then end with Madlibs. All right, a unit conversion program. I'm going to start with the average because the average is already doing some numbers. And I'm going to convert miles to kilometers. And what I want this to do now is ask for miles, convert to kilometers, and print. Okay, so now I'm just going to keep the parts of this that I need. I want to ask for a mile. That's just like this one here. I'm going to use this version here, so I'll call this miles and change the print statement miles. Okay, so really all I needed from that was the remembering how to input a float, a number. All right, and then I need to know the formula for kilometers compared to miles, and 1.6 is close. We'll use that. Okay, so there's our kilometers, and I'll just print, let's see, miles equals kilometers. Okay, so there is my variable that is a number. This thing here is just text it's going to print. This is a variable. It's going to print the value of that variable, and then some more text to print. Let's see how it does. So 1 mile should be 1.6. 3.1 miles is almost 5 kilometers. That's probably good enough. All right, and we could do the same kind of thing with other units. We could convert inches to centimeters or whatever. Feet to miles, miles to feet. Okay, next one was math practice. So there's lots of fun math practice that we can do with Python, but with what we have so far, this is what I'm thinking. So we ask the user for 2 numbers, tell them to figure out, let's say, the product. We're practicing multiplication. Let's see, and then tell them the answer. Okay, so a kid could put in his math facts and check the answers. Okay, so first I'm going to ask for 2 numbers. And these are going to be, let's say that I know they're going to be integers. If I know they're going to be integers, then I can use the int function instead of float. And I'll ask for number. And I'll get another one. And I'm going to end up, I'll call it product. So I multiply these 2 numbers, and I'll print the result. So I'm going to say num1 times num2 equals product. Okay, so that'll give all the answers. Let's see how that looks, if that works or not. So 5 and 8 gives 40. If I want to give them a chance, I could have an extra step here where I print something else. So let's say I could maybe right here I'll say text equals input. Do you have your answer? So if we look at this, now if I say 5 and 8, that's kind of reminding me that I should try to figure this out on my own first. Now I'm going to type something, and what is it going to do with what I type? It didn't do anything with what I typed. It was just so that it could give me a chance. So I could actually change this. I'm not really using that value, and I could say here so I could just say enter when ready, because that seemed to work. Let's try that again. Okay, so we could do the same thing with multiple digits or with subtraction, addition, whatever. All right, so that's mildly, I'm trying to do things that are mildly interesting with what we already know. All right, last of all, let's do Madlibs. And we don't really have anything like this, so I'm just going to start from scratch. So I may be having the wrong name for Madlib, but what I think this is, ask the user for different nouns, verbs, etc., and put those into some sentences. All right, so for this, I'm we need to ask them for things and then come up with the text of whatever it's going to be. So let's first, we'll make this short. So we'll say noun 1, noun, or we'll say thing, and maybe place, we'll have an action, and a number, maybe a color, and an adjective. Okay, and then I'm going to put this into just one big print statement, I think. Okay, so once upon a time, let's see, I'm going to pause and make something up. Okay, so I made up random things. Once upon a time, there were two kingdoms who had been at war forever. One day, the leader of some place decided to stop fighting with Badville, the other place. The only problem, you could read. Okay, so I have these variables. What kind of data are these variables? They are strings because that's what input gives back. Is it okay? So there's something I asked for a number. Is it okay that I have not converted to an integer or a float? The way I'm using it here. I think it's fine because I'm just going to print it. I'm not doing any arithmetic with it right there. All right, I'm going to try to run this. I think there will be one thing I need to fix. So a thing, couch, place, Terre Haute, action, jump, number 7, color, orange, adjective, tall. And it worked, so that's fine. Okay, so there's our Madlib. We could have the kids write up Madlibs, and then this would automatically put the text in. Isn't that fun? Okay, so we'll be on to chapter 2, where we can do much more interesting things.